Hello, today I wanted to show this TI2500 version 2 data math, which I have modified to work with normal stuff in 2025. So put a little attachment on the switch to make this switch work. So I think it was a piece of foam down there, something that degraded over time. So now I put a piece of tape so you can see that it's on, just like the old one. Got a very cool display. It will do a little like calculation thinking before it does the final number. I will now show you the internals to show how I got this to work with a standard USB plug over there. That's coming over through here through a barrel jack. Looks like this. Really, you should be using one that's a bit longer than this, so it actually goes in and stays in. But it's just the contacts do touch with this, and you just have to kind of watch it to make sure it doesn't pop out. At some point, probably get an actual 5-volt USB one where this this barrel jack is actually a bit longer. But yeah, I'll show you the internals now. So here are the internals for the calculator. And as you'll notice, if you've got one of these, I've completely removed the nickel-cadmium batteries because they're highly toxic, I believe. Wanted just to get rid of those. I've seen some people put a little like LiPo 3.3 volt LiPo batteries in here with a 5-volt regulator. And then a lot of people will actually go and replace this jack here. But as you can see, just if I plug this in here with this guy, so both the center pin, because it's kind of slanted, I guess, the center pin does actually make contact, but it does actually work and get the right, circuit to go through. So what I've done since then is I have gotten rid of all this, and I've desoldered whatever was going on there with the diodes and the weird way that the version 2 communicated, because the version 2 actually had 7.5 volts AC coming out of the wall into the circuit. So it was 7.5 volts AC, going like that. That they would use a diode to half wave rectify it, to just chop off the bottom of it. So then you're left with the top of the waveform. And they were like, yeah, that's a roughly X amount of volts or whatever that would then go into these batteries that charge them, the nickel cadmium ones. And then outside of the nickel cadmium would be another line that would go through, I think, another resistor or another diode into this switch here. That would just go through here and then go back to the main board. But I figured that's all very dangerous, especially if I just like hot swapped this for some 1.2 volt like nickel metal hydrides. I wouldn't be wanting to send, even if it was rectified, 7.5 volts AC into some modern nickel metal hydride 1.2 volt batteries. So what I've done instead is, rather than just wiring this jack directly to the board and then sending 5 volts through here like I'm doing now with the USB plug, rather than doing that, what I chose to do was get a diode in here. This is actually a Schottky diode. I don't know the exact model number, I might put it in the description, but the Schottky diode actually prevents reverse polarity if you plug the circuit in backwards or use like a guitar power supply, which you shouldn't because it's 9 volts, but like something like a guitar power supply is actually reverse polarity. So that this would protect against that, this diode, but as a byproduct, it actually drops the voltage with this amperage at around, couple of tenths of a volt. So it's probably around 4.7, 4.6, 4.8 volts coming into the circuit, which is actually perfect because the batteries were outputting 4.8 volts to here. So getting a little less than that, 4.7, 4.6, it seems to be okay. It seems to be working so far. And generally with older electronics, I've heard on DC, running them a little bit below their actual intended voltage on the main board will actually let the components last longer, as opposed to what everyone else is kind of doing, which is running them at 5 volts, which does work. I'm sure it's 5 volt logic in here. But you're running them a little bit hot from what it was intended for, if at all that's even a consideration. A bit perplexing to me anyway. But yeah, so that's that. And then you're just connected the ground from the actual thing just straight to it again. This is just a little bridge because I had 2 wires. And then yeah, I used a little piece of rolled up red tape to act as the felt did that degraded, and the same red tape that's actually used on the switch to indicate that it's on, that I replaced that with as well. Yeah, because this just, you know, kind of sits in loose on top of here. Like it's loose right now. But yeah, that's everything. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.